Oh, hi there. I'm Scott Matla Bob Ross. In today's episode of What's Happening is the Prospect Pyramid. Now, before we get too far into things, I want to make one thing very clear. I don't have bad handwriting. They're just a bunch of happy little mistakes in the shape of letters. I'm trying my best, okay? Now, what the Prospect Pyramid is actually an idea from, well, I'm sure you know him, everyone knows Steve Dangle. He came up with this idea last year for the Maple Leafs. And looking at things this year with the preseason, people want to know a lot about these prospects, because every now and then you get someone like Victor Mete who maybe everyone didn't know about. So the goal of this is to completely unofficially, everyone is welcome to tweet me their own pyramids, their ideas, whatever. You can tweet me at Scott Matla. My link will be in the description. Include hashtag EOTP Weekly, hashtag Habs Prospect, anything. I want to see what your ideas are. Mine is not the end-all be-all. This is just how, in my mind, I ranked them, especially based off of the summer when we did the Habs top 25, under 25 prospects. Obviously, a bunch of those prospects aren't going to be included in here for various reasons, but I'll explain that in 1 second. Now, there are certain players that have been excluded either because they have pro experience, whether that be here, in Europe, they have a regular NHL spot, they've been in the AHL for several years now and have established that they're very much already, they're no longer a prospect. They may be young, but they're very much, an NHL ready player. They're no longer someone you can consider a prospect or a project or anything like that, all right? So we're going to get into this right now. All right, so here we have my extremely badly handwritten prospect pyramid. And what I'm going to do, and first things first, before we get into anything, the players on this side who aren't included, which includes Jacob Delarose, who's been in the AHL for several years now, while also playing pro over in Sweden. He's had a regular NHL job in past seasons and is pretty much no longer someone we can consider a prospect. Is he fully there? No, but he's definitely not really a prospect anymore. My personal favorite, Charles Hudon, is really no longer a prospect. He's been one of the best players in the AHL for 3 years now, and has just absolutely dominated the preseason this far. Arturi Lehkonen had a full-time NHL job last year. He definitely doesn't count. Joe Morrow has been a full-time NHLer in Boston under Claude Julien previously. He doesn't count. Max Freberg came over in the Dustin Tokarski trade and left to go back to Frölunda this year. Had a couple of AHL seasons, playing professionally over in Sweden right now. Can't really count him. And then Daniel Carr, who had a regular NHL job, a regular AHL job, and he's kind of bounced between the two. So those are the players that I didn't include. You may think of that a little bit differently, but that's just the way I kind of see it. I didn't include Jakob Jerabek on this list because he played professionally in the KHL. He's a little bit older than usual, so it's a toss-up. I could have included him on the pro list. I could have included him on the pyramid itself, but I really just didn't know where to put him right now. If it was, he'd probably be on this pro list if we're being entirely honest, though. So this is just one of those happy little mistakes. Let's call it that. But right now, if we're looking at the top of this pyramid right here in my poor handwriting, if you can read that, I have Noah Juulsen and I have Victor Mete right now, is arguably the two top prospects in the Canadiens organization right now. Noah Juulsen has been highly thought of since he finished his junior career for Everett last year. He's come in, he played as a 7th defenseman in the playoffs for the St. John's Ice Caps last year, and then immediately going into the final deciding game, he went from a rotating spot to being a regular contributor in that game, and his head coach, Sylvain Lefebvre, had nothing but praise for him during that. Matched up there with him is this preseason's wonder child, Victor Mete. A 4th-round pick in 2016, he has done absolutely everything he can to make this team. Even with David Schlemko injured, he got put alongside Shea Weber, and he hasn't looked out of place at all. Tonight, even playing with Jordy Ben, he got bumped down the lineup a little bit. Jerabek came in, played a few more minutes than he did. Mete didn't look any worse for playing alongside Jordy Ben. He had a lot of good rushes, a lot of smart plays. He's getting power play time. He's a kid that was expected to be exciting and good, but he's come so far since he was drafted even in these past 2 years that he could very realistically at least get a 9-game tryout this year for the Canadiens. Going into Tier 2, these are the guys that are either higher ceiling or just on the cusp of becoming an NHL regular. And in there, we have Nikita Sherbak, Michael McCarron, Yoni Ikonen, Brett Lernout, Ryan Poehling, Jake Evans, Josh Brook, and Charlie Lindgren. So on that list, you have Sherbak, McCarron, Lernout, and Lindgren, who are all going to be AHL regulars this year for the Laval Rocket and could very easily be called up as well. Tonight in their 3-1 win over the Panthers, Sherbak got called back up to play another game after being sent down, and it's the best he looked all preseason. He looked aggressive, he was making plays happen, he could stand to shoot the puck a little bit more, but you know what? That was the Sherbak that people wanted to see. That's the one that scored his first goal last year in Toronto. He's that kid that we want to see. Brett Lernout is someone who definitely has the eye of the Canadiens brass. He's been called up a few times in recent seasons. Unfortunately, in his rookie year, he got called up and then immediately suffered a season-ending knee injury in a catastrophic season that saw us playing with Joel Hanley and Darren Dietz to end the season in Montreal. If anyone remembers that, yeah, not great. Charlie Lindgren, I really don't know what there else is to say about him. He's one of the best goaltending prospects Montreal's had in a long, long time. That's no disrespect to some of the other guys who've come through the system, but watching Lindgren play, he's been called, well, he's been called AHL Carey Price for a reason. He goes out there every single night and gives his team a chance to win in any single game that he's a part of. Michael McCarron is a divisive prospect, to say the least. He's gigantic, he can hit, he can be physical, but he also had a scoring touch, at least when he was drafted. He had a rough first season in London. His second year in the OHL, started off great playing with London. He went to Oshawa, won a Memorial Cup, and showed people, okay, he can handle big defensive minutes, he can score, he can play physically, maybe he can be someone down the line that we can use. His first season in the AHL, he did the exact same thing. He was physically involved, he made things happen, whether it be playmaking, scoring goals, eating up minutes on the penalty kill or whatever. He was great, he got a little bit of a tryout in Montreal, looked a little out of place, but okay, he needs a little bit more time to adjust. Last year rolled around and it seemed like a step back. His physicality went more towards fighting, less towards hitting and trying to make things happen on the defensive side of the puck. His point totals went down. He got 21 games in the NHL and kind of looked like he was just there as a body. He didn't really seem to do much of anything. He had more fights than he had points last year in the NHL. That's not something you want to see from one of your first round picks. Also on that list, Yoni Ikonen. He was 2017 second round draft pick, 58th overall, I believe. He was picked 2 picks after Josh Brook, who was also on this, and I should pair them together. Brook is a very good puck-moving defenseman. He plays well in his own end and can make things happen in the offensive zone. Getting him is someone I'm really excited about because he was part of a huge WHL draft movement. All their defense, everyone drafted outside of Poehling and Caden Primo came from the WHL this year in the NHL draft. He's a defenseman that can move the puck, and he helps refill that pipeline now that, Mikhail Sergachev is in Tampa Bay, Victor Mete might be in the NHL, Noah Juleson graduated, Simon Bork graduated. He's going to be one of those guys that steps in and refills that pipeline a little bit. Yoni Ikonen is an exciting forward he's actually playing in the Finnish league, Liga now. If I mispronounce that, I'm sorry. He brings high-end skill, high-end talent. He was part of the Frölunda system that originally, helped, generate or create Arturi Lehkonen, got him up to being NHL ready. In addition to any number of other players, he transferred over to, I believe, Kelpa. If I'm mispronouncing it again, I swear, I mean no offense, I might just be an idiot. Don't take it personally. He's an extremely exciting prospect. He brings a lot of high-end skill and talent. He just needs to work on his, getting his attitude sorted a little bit, and he could very well be a huge steal for the Canadiens in that draft. Then the last two in this second segment here are Ryan Poehling and Jake Evans, both of whom are NCAA products right now. Jake Evans is in his senior year at Notre Dame, and he, since being drafted out of the OJHL from St. Michael's, has steadily grown up. He's arguably one of the least talked about Habs prospects that deserves more discussion. He's an extremely good playmaker. He's climbed straight up Notre Dame's roster to being a top-line star forward. He can't sign an entry-level contract until he finishes up in college, but given the way that he's progressed in his scoring ability and what he's done for the Fighting Irish, it would be extremely unwise of Montreal to let him go. Or you could have something like Will Butcher on your hands, or Jimmy Vesey, an extremely talented forward that's right there that just kind of slips through your hands, you know? And then Ryan Poehling is the first-round draft pick from this year. Originally, myself included, I saw him as being a little bit of a safe pick, you know, low ceiling, but he could very easily be an NHL forward, but that maxes out, you know, not here, not up at the top, you know. He's got talent, he's defensively responsible, but over the summer when he was playing against people his age in the World Junior Summer Showcase, he had a nose for the net, good playmaking ability, and the ability to play on both the penalty kill and power play. I don't know if he's going to make Team USA's World Junior roster, but after that summer showcase, there's a very good chance that he could break into that. Now, a little note off to the side here, I have Will Bitton and Michael McNiven. That's not anything bad. They're just right on that line. They're not quite, you know, in the lower tier, but I'm not quite sure if I want to put them in the upper tier yet. Will Bitton has the skills to be in this second tier of players, but his season last year was a little bit of a step backwards, and hopefully he'll get back to being that high-end forward that we drafted in 2016 and what we want him to be. Michael McNiven was the best goalie in the OHL, and I believe one of the best in the CHL last year. He's going into his first pro season, so I kind of have him on that borderline there just to see where he can end up. It's tough. He should likely be playing a ton in Brampton this year with Zach Vucali and Charlie Lindgren holding the fort down in Laval. And him getting a ton of games, honestly, is not the worst thing that can happen. Within the next 2 years, we could easily see him move up to being a starter in the AHL, and depending on what they want to do, he could probably see some NHL time next preseason or whenever. So those are two guys to keep an eye on. They both could easily move up or down on this. But going into the third part of this, we have eight players here. We've got Martin Rive, we've got Lucas Vejdemo, Jeremiah Addison, Cale Fleury, Zach Vucali, Antoine Waked, which is how I learned his name is pronounced this preseason. I always thought it was just Waked. So Daniel Audette and Simon Bork. Everyone in there is currently, outside of Fleury, is going to be playing in the AHL this year. Vejdemo is over in the Swedish Elite League right now. I'm not even going to try and pronounce the team that he plays for because I'm just going to embarrass myself, and I don't want to do that. But everyone else that's in this section, Rivi is going to be in the ball. He's already there now, and he's expected to play this weekend. Addison would be there. Unfortunately, he suffered a serious shoulder injury during the preseason, is out up to 6 months. Fleury will be back in the WHL, playing for Kootenay, I believe. Zach Vucali will be battling with Charlie Lindgren for the starting spot in Laval. Antoine Waked was the big offseason signing. He signed an entry-level contract. He comes from the QMJHL. He brings a lot of energy. He has a lot of high-end skill. He could be someone that could surprise. I didn't know much about him. I like what I see, but I don't quite think he matches up into here. He doesn't have possibly the same ceiling as a Sherback or an Ikonen or a Jake Evans. Daniel Audette's going into his second professional season. Last year was a little bit of an up and down. He had a quiet start. When the team suffered some injuries, he stepped in and took off. And then he kind of cooled off again a little bit. He went 29 games without a goal, which is tough. But it's his rookie season, you know, these things happen. And then Simon Bork will be going into his first full professional season. He's had a few games in the AHL before after his QMJHL season stepped out. He, in the preseason and the rookie tournaments, showed a lot to me. He has a little bit of snarl around the net. He's got the ability to move the puck and make plays happen, though. So fans should be really excited about him. And then finally, this little thing is the everybody else section. That's players that are either seem to, you know, stuck at the AHL level only. We don't quite know what their ceiling is. You have players like Jeremy Gregoire who had a lot of promise, but now seem to be kind of relegated to playing a bottom six role in the AHL. Or people that we don't have an idea of what their ceiling is yet. Caden Primo. He was listed as one of the top 10 incoming freshmen this year as a goalie, which always a good sign. Or someone like Jarrett Tishka. If I'm pronouncing that again, I'm sorry. You know, we see what their stats are, but because we weren't following closely, we don't really know exactly what their ceiling is. So that's my prospect pyramid. please feel free to yell at me about that. I want to hear your feedback, what you consider your top prospects, or how you would rank your own. So remember, just at me on Twitter, at Scott Matla, and show me your pyramid. You don't have to draw it. You can just list it out if you want. I'm open to everything. I want to see what other Habs fans think. And now that I've rambled on for 15 minutes about prospects that you may or may not care about, I'm going to get to some of the questions that I picked from you guys on Twitter. So let's get right into it. From Robert Brown at Standard Bob, he wants to know if I see Jakub Jerabek as a top 6 defenseman right now. And from what I've seen in the preseason, I'm kind of hard-pressed to not have him in there. He's played extremely well. He has professional experience from playing over in the KHL. He moved the puck very well. He's very posed and composed. He's someone that I would like to see in the lineup. Mark Streit, I know, has the experience and has been an NHL regular for however many years, but I look at what Jerabek did and I look at what Streit did in this preseason, and I'm leaning far more towards the new guy right now. So I can very easily see him in my top 6. Not a guarantee that he's going to play every game or the majority, but he should definitely be in there on a regular basis. Now, would I pair him with Shea Weber? Yes, no, I don't really know. This is the great conundrum right now. Mete has looked good there. Jerabek probably looks good there. We don't know how David Schlemko looks here, which apparently his hand got cut off and he's walking around like Jaime Lannister in Game of Thrones now. We don't know when he's coming back or when he's going to be available. They said it was just a bruised hand, but that's absolutely one hell of a bruise, man. It's been a couple of weeks now. Shannon, one of the writers here for Habs Eyes on the Prize, wants to know, what are my thoughts about Charles Hudon playing with Thomas Buchanan and Arturi Lehkonen? And if I could make my face into a giant heart eye emoji right now, that is what I think. That's the only line that hasn't been touched in any way, shape, or form this preseason. Hudon's been amazing. Lehkonen has been solid, if not, he doesn't always stand out like high-end dangling around people, but he does the little things right in his game. And Thomas Buchanan he's been quiet this preseason points-wise, but he's doing the small little subtle things that help his line mates, and that line's been pretty fantastic all preseason, so I have no issues going into the season with that as a second or third line, depending on what Claude Julien wants to do. They're exciting, they're going to put points up on the board, and they're defensively responsible. It's a coach's dream. Yes, also, Arturi Lehkonen is adorable. He's the most adorable Finnish child I've ever seen. Let's just get to that out of the way. Alana at Patcheretti's wants to know how I would rate Jonathan Drouin's hair, 100 out of 1,000, and the answer is it's obviously 1,000. Come on. Have you seen his hair? It's pretty amazing. And then also, Thomas Buchanan's hair, it's weird. I don't have a rating for that because he's not supposed to have hair. Just like Andrei Markov isn't supposed to have hair. It's weird. It's a brave new world and I don't fully understand it. And then my ideal top 6 comes from Andrew, and I am so sorry if I screw this up. I swear I mean no offense. I'm just an idiot. Giesbrecht. I owe you a beer if that wasn't even close. I'm extremely sorry. My ideal top 6, right now, I like the idea of either Victor Mete or Jakub Jerabek with Shea Weber. It gives him someone mobile that allows him to be, focus on his positioning. That's his big thing. He's in the right spot. He doesn't always have to be mobile. And we've seen Mete's been able to, play pretty well right now. And if he struggles, Jerabek has the professional experience to step in there. Behind that, Alzner Petrie. I don't like the idea of giving Petrie another guy he might have to float this season. But the last game against Florida, the Alzner Petrie pairing looked pretty good. So if they can, be decent and eat up some minutes and chip in the odd assist or goal every now and then, that's fine. And then the last pairing, if it's David Schlemko with Jordy Ben or Jerabek with Jordy Ben, I'm absolutely fine with that. Ben's been he's been solid. He doesn't have to be spectacular, but he's been an extremely useful bottom pairing defenseman. You can rotate Davidson in, you can rotate Morrow in. I don't think Eric Jelena is getting a contract. You can rotate these guys throughout the season if someone needs a rest or someone's banged up. You could also see someone like Juleson called up after he gets over his foot injury. Someone like Lernout called up. There's options. the defense isn't as amazing as it could be. There's, there's always ideas about mobility, puck-moving defensemen, whatever. They're going to get things done this season. They're not going to be the most mobile or highly offensive unit, but they're going to be more than able to hold their own. And we always forget their seventh defenseman behind them is the best goalie in the world. So there's much ado about nothing, I think, about complaining about how bad this defense could be. It's not like they're going to be a tire fire. They're not going to be the Senators minus Erik Karlsson. They're not going to be the Oilers in general or anything like that. But they're going to be solid, not spectacular, and that's actually not a bad thing with a good coach like Claude Julien behind the bench. That's it for me this week, though. I hope you enjoyed the prospect pyramid. If you want to see more things like this, where I can interact with either a whiteboard, which, hey, I mean, it was Steve's idea and I like to run with it, or if there's other things like that you want to see, if you want to see my ideal lineup drawn on there, if you want to see how I would do whatever, if there are any ideas you want, always include them in your tweets, hashtag EOTP Weekly, at them to myself, at Scott Matla, M-A-T-L-A, or at Habs on the Prize, Habs EOTP, Habs Eyes on the Prize on Twitter. Both our accounts will be linked below. Thanks for watching. Be sure to leave a like and a subscription if you enjoyed this, all right? Go Habs, go!